They say, time moves fast in the world of performance cars. One year, you're the king of the road. And the next, you're a used listing, waiting for a brave soul to take a chance. But somewhere in the shadows of today's showrooms, there still roar the forgotten titans. Machines that once shook the earth with supercharged lungs. Icons that defined an era of brute force engineering before hybrid badges and eco modes tamed the wild. This is not about new, it's about raw. It's about the sound of a mechanical heart beating against the laws of physics. And for the price of one brand new Ford Mustang GT, you could own something louder, faster, and far more unhinged. Welcome to Gear Pulse Insight, where engines aren't just measured in horsepower, they're measured in goosebumps. Every story needs a benchmark, a point of reference. And for modern American muscle, that benchmark wears a galloping horse on its grille. The 2025 Ford Mustang GT. A name etched in steel, swagger, and history. Under its sculpted bonnet lives a 5-liter, naturally aspirated Coyote V8 engine, a masterpiece of noise and nostalgia. It produces 480 horsepower at 7,150 revolutions per minute and 415 pound-feet of torque at just under 5,000 revolutions per minute. The GT is offered in 3 distinct personalities: the base fastback at $46,560, the premium fastback at $51,080, and the convertible that touches $56,580. On average, that means around $52,000, the figure we'll use for comparison today. Now, that buys you a brand new car, untouched, unworn, unscarred, a factory warranty, 0 miles, a clean slate for your story to begin. It's rear-wheel drive. It offers a 6-speed manual for the purist and a 10-speed automatic for those chasing milliseconds. It can reach 60 miles per hour in just over 4 seconds. A blistering figure for something with seats, air conditioning, and a Bluetooth connection. But here's the question Gear Pulse Insight dares to ask. For $52,000, what if you traded that untouched perfection for a used monster with a supercharger screaming under its bonnet? Because once you've heard the howl of compressed air feeding into a V8, once you've felt the tires squirm beneath 600 or 700 horses trying to break free, you realize the Mustang GT isn't the end of the dream. It's merely the gateway. And so we begin our descent into madness. Into the era when American car makers didn't care about fuel economy or noise restrictions. They cared about dominance. Welcome to the world of supercharged America. There are muscle cars, and then there's the Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, a weapon disguised as a coupe. Its bloodline stretches back to the late 1960s, when a handful of daring Chevrolet dealers found a loophole. A special order program known as COPO. They used it to shoehorn a 7-liter aluminum big block racing engine into the humble Camaro shell. It was called ZL1, and it was never meant for the faint-hearted. Fast forward to modern times, and that same nameplate returns with vengeance. Under its bonnet lives the legendary 6.2-liter LT4 engine, supercharged, fuel-injected, and utterly deranged. 650 horsepower at 6,400 revolutions per minute. 650 pound-feet of torque at 3,600. Rear-wheel drive, of course. Transmission, your choice. 6-speed manual or 10-speed automatic. 0 to 60 miles per hour, 3.5 seconds. give or take. That's not acceleration, that's teleportation. But the ZL1 isn't just about straight-line fury. Chevrolet engineered it to outthink its competitors. An advanced performance traction management system allows the driver to choose how brave they feel. It progressively loosens its electronic reins until the car becomes one with instinct, a machine that rewards precision and punishes arrogance. Cooling, 11 separate heat exchangers, because 650 horses generate biblical amounts of heat when unleashed. Braking, Brembo calipers with 6 pistons each, biting down on discs roughly the size of dustbin lids. And just when it seems excessive, it all begins to make sense. Because excess is the point. The ZL1 doesn't apologize for being too loud, too low, or too much. It celebrates it. By 2019, Chevrolet refined it further for 8-inch infotainment system, wireless charging, even forward collision alert on the coupe model. Luxury meets lunacy. And here's the kicker. According to data from Auto Tempest, low-mileage ZL1S from around 2019 can be found for just about $52,000. Some even with under 40,000 miles on the clock. Think about that. For the same money as a brand new Mustang GT, you could own a car that offers a 170 horsepower advantage. A car engineered to humiliate track times and terrify passengers. This isn't a comparison anymore. It's a revelation. The Mustang GT may have the badge, the fan base, and the sales figures, but the Camaro ZL1 has something far rarer. The ability to make your hands shake after a drive. It's not just supercharged, it's superhuman. There are cars that command respect, and then there are cars that demand fear. Enter the Dodge Challenger Hellcat, the mechanical embodiment of chaos, the car that asked a single, defiant question. What if power itself became affordable? Back in 2015, Dodge decided that the world had grown too quiet, too polite, and too predictable. So they unleashed a monster, a 6.2-liter supercharged SRT Hemi V8 engine, 717 horsepower, 656 pound-feet of torque, rear-wheel drive, naturally, and a soundtrack that could raise the dead. From 0 to 60 miles per hour, 3.5 seconds. Top speed over 200 miles per hour, depending on gearing and courage. At full throttle, the supercharger whine pierces the air like a banshee, rising above the deep, rolling thunder of the V8 beneath it. It's not a noise, it's a statement. This was the first time in history that anyone could walk into a dealership and buy a 700 horsepower car straight from the factory. No tuning, no modifications, no racing credentials required. Just sign the papers and welcome insanity into your garage. But the Hellcat isn't subtle. It doesn't try to blend in. It is wide, heavy, brutal, and unapologetically American. Its body lines are simple yet muscular, the kind that look carved from steel rather than styled in clay. And that name, Hellcat, fits perfectly. Because this isn't a car you control. It's a car you negotiate with. By 2020, Dodge had refined it slightly, but the essence remained pure. A 2-door brute with supercar-level power and a family sedan price tag. At around $52,000, you could find well-kept early models with fewer than 40,000 miles on the odometer. That's nearly $10,000 less than a brand new Mustang GT. Leaving plenty of room for tires, brake pads, and perhaps a few sessions at a racetrack. To learn how to tame it. The Hellcat redefined value in the muscle car world. It wasn't about handling finesse or lap records. It was about audacity, about giving ordinary enthusiasts a taste of extraordinary power. Where most cars whisper, the Hellcat screams. Where most engines breathe, this one devours air. It may not be perfect, but perfection was never the goal. The goal was to make every drive feel like a small apocalypse. And on that front, the Dodge Challenger Hellcat delivered perfection in its own terrifying way. Every legend has a bloodline, and in Ford's history, that bloodline carries a name revered by generations: Shelby. The Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 of 2013 to 2014 was the final chapter of a raw, analog era. Before traction control took over, before twin-clutch gearboxes replaced the human touch, under the bonnet lay a 5.8-liter supercharged petrol V8. 662 horsepower at 6,250 revolutions per minute. 631 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM, rear-wheel drive, 6-speed manual gearbox, and a 0 to 60 time hovering around 3.8 seconds. But those numbers only tell half the story, because the GT500 wasn't just fast, it was furious. This car was born at a time when Ford wanted to end a generation with a statement. It was the swan song of the fifth-generation Mustang, a defiant roar before emissions rules and modernization began to tighten their grip. When you sat behind its wheel, you didn't just drive it, you wrestled it. The clutch was heavy, the gear lever mechanical, and every acceleration felt like strapping yourself to a live grenade. The GT500 didn't flatter its driver, it challenged them. And that's why it earned respect. In a world where computers now intervene between man and machine, the Shelby GT500 of 2014 feels like a direct conversation between muscle, metal, and madness. For around $52,000 today, you can still find these beasts in good condition, often with under 30,000 miles. That's a 182 horsepower advantage over the 2025 Mustang GT, wrapped in vintage aggression and a badge that commands reverence. There's something about that Shelby name, the way it evokes both performance and danger in equal measure. You don't own a GT500 to commute. You own it to remember what driving once felt like. Before everything became sanitized, when it roared down a highway, you didn't just hear the engine. You felt history move through it. If the previous cars were pure aggression, this one is a paradox power wrapped in polish. The Cadillac CTS-V is what happens when American luxury decides it's tired of being underestimated. Born in 2004 and refined until 2019, the CTS-V evolved into something extraordinary. A four-door luxury saloon that could outrun supercars. By 2016, it was packing a 6.2-liter supercharged LT4 V8, shared with the Corvette Z6. 640 horsepower, 630 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.7 seconds. An 8-speed automatic gearbox channeled all that fury to the rear wheels. But unlike its muscle car cousins, the CTS didn't shout about its power. It wore a suit. It had manners. It whispered sophistication. Until you pressed the accelerator, and then it became a thunderstorm in a tuxedo. Inside, you'd find hand-stitched leather, a Bose sound system, and technology borrowed from Cadillac's racing program. On the outside, sharp creases and carbon fiber hints gave away its true nature. A gentleman assassin built for both boardrooms and backroads. At the $52,000 mark, you can find examples with around 70 to 80,000 miles. Yes, a little worn, but still capable of annihilating most modern sports cars, while carrying 4 adults in comfort. The CTS proved something profound, that American performance could be elegant without being restrained. It could be cultured without compromise. This was not just a fast car. It was a statement of intent from Cadillac. that luxury and lunacy can coexist. So, what does all of this mean? It means that the golden age of American performance never really died. It simply moved. From the dealership forecourt to the used listings, from the hands of first owners to those who truly understand what these machines represent. For roughly $52,000, the price of a brand new Mustang GT, you could choose to experience any one of these titans: a Camaro ZL1, the brutal tactician; a Dodge Hellcat, the unchained beast; a Shelby GT500, the untamed legend; or a Cadillac CTS-V, the gentleman killer. Each represents a different philosophy of power. Each tells a story of when American engineers built cars not for algorithms, but for adrenaline. They are loud, they are excessive, they are flawed, and that's what makes them perfect. Because perfection isn't silence, it isn't safety. It's that moment when you turn the key, hear the supercharger whine to life, and realize you're sitting inside something that refuses to be ordinary. These are not just cars. They are characters. They have tempers, moods, and souls made of metal. And while the world rushes towards electric motors and autonomous systems, somewhere out there, one of these forgotten titans still breathes fire. This has been the Forgotten Titans, 4 supercharged legends that outrun the Mustang GT. A journey through power, nostalgia, and the undying spirit of American muscle. You've been watching Gear Pulse Insight, where we don't just review cars, we remember why they mattered. Until next time, keep your engines loud, your roads open, and your pulse racing.